Now, detaining patients or bodies of pending medical bills will soon be illegal if MPs approve a proposed amendment to the Health Laws Amendment Bill 2018. Nyando MP Jared Okelo has moved a raft of amendments to outlaw detention of bodies by hospital management, a very common act among health facilities in the country. The proposed amendments apply to both public and private hospitals. Now, let's speak to the legislator to understand more about this. And Honorable Jared Okelo now joins us via way of phone. Thank you so much, Honorable Okelo, for joining us here on KTN News Center, actually joining us live. And Honorable Okelo, part of your proposal is that whether it's private or public hospital who have decided to retain a body or a patient will pay a fine of 5 million shillings or even a jail term. How realistic is your proposal to the amendments of the health bill?
Thank you very much, Brenda. There is a very important reason as to why I have come up to advance this quest to have detention of patients or corpses in various morgues be declared illegal. Working in collaboration with Center for Reproductive Rights, I have moved this amendment before the House for debate and subsequent adoption by the House so that, dignity of human life together with the various liberties as enshrined in Chapter 4 on Bill of Rights of our Constitution can be respected. This is not the first time that we are talking about maternal health, for example. I remember in the year 2012, a Center for Reproductive Rights moved to court to challenge the illegality of arbitrary detention of patients in Pumwani Hospital and other health centers within the country. Twice they won their matters over the Attorney General and together with the other respondents in those respective matters. To date, these arbitrary detention still continue unabated, and therefore we are saying if there is a lacuna in our laws that allow for detention by various health facilities, then we need to strengthen it a little bit. I have moved further with my amendment to address two major categories. Number one, we understand that there is no regulatory authority or regulatory body that can implement in its entirety any proposal on illegal detention. And that is why I have proposed that Kenya Medical and Practitioners Board and Dentist Board be strengthened, be given teeth to bite, be given more powers and jurisdiction in order that they can, with certainty, put these wayward health centers to question. And that is why I have said, upon conviction, any health facility that has negated this law will be liable to 5 years imprisonment or a fine of 5 million shillings or both. So that is the first approach that I've given to my bill. Now the second approach talks about the remedies that must be instituted for this to happen. And that will not touch the Kenya Medical and Practitioners Dentist Boards Act, but will touch on the Health Act. So if you talk about issues of that particular detention, certain times torture, because we know certain mothers, while giving birth, have been subjected to beating, they've been slapped, they've been abandoned to that extent that they give birth by themselves or are attended to by fellow patients. And remember, these are health facilities that are stocked with nurses and other doctors. So we are moving a little further to tinker a little bit with our Health Act so that we can incorporate other peripheral issues, but with a definitive result of sidestepping the detention, arbitrary detention of women in various hospitals and health facilities, Brenda.
Honorable Okelo, your proposal comes at a time when Lady Justice Wilfrida Okwan also made a ruling that detention of patients is illegal. I mean, when a patient doesn't have money to pay, or release of bodies from the mortuary is illegal.
Yes, it's very timely. We've never lacked laws. In fact, the President's declaration, if you remember, on the 1st of June 2013, said that there will be an amnesty on all mothers or maternal mothers, those who have delivered, from paying any hospital bill. That was a presidential decree. However, some argument would be advanced to say that was just a presidential fiat, and that may not then be very popular with the implementers of these laws. But once a president has made an executive pronouncement, it has to be respected. To date, that hasn't been followed, either because of our own ignorance as the people of Kenya, or because implementing authorities have negated their responsibilities. That is why I am moving a step further to strengthen an authority run by the government to now, for once, be able to implement these proposals, the laws, the presidential decrees, together with all other enabling laws surrounding health. So, yes, pronouncements have been made, not just by one judge, not just by two judges, but a series of judges coming up with the same verdict that you cannot detain either a patient or a body lying in a morgue for a simple reason that somebody has not paid. And my argument is very simple. When one is confronted with a bill for health, for medication, the bill is susceptible to escalation just because as long as you detain the patient, the charges would accrue, they will be topping up. But again, no one, this is a person who is already immobilized. You have turned the health facilities into prisons. This is somebody who cannot venture out there, engage in a gainful employment, and hence be able to settle the bill.
But
so you are adding salt to injury. And we
Honorable
are saying,
Okelo,
sorry,
Honorable Okelo, lastly, as we finish, don't you think hospitals will now be reluctant to admit patients, especially patients who cannot afford to pay for the hospital bills? And right now I'm talking about private hospitals because of the punitive proposals that you've put, the punitive measures, 5 million shillings, a fine, or 5 years in jail.
Firstly, medical issues are emergencies. Nobody would want to go and spend his or her own time in a hospital. This is an emergency that has to be handled as such. Number two, our constitution has made issues of health mandatory requirements. So if a hospital would be reluctant to admit a patient just because the result is lack of enough monies to pay, then that in itself is usurpation of our own constitution. And once one has usurped the constitution, the remedies, the mitigation, the penalties are heavier than just admission of a patient. So we have to recognize that we operate in a country that has laws that must be respected. And therefore, we are not going to allow hospitals run away from what they ought to be carrying out. And remember, these are hospitals that are registered using Kenyan government's laws. So we will also perhaps move a little further to also, deny them licenses. And that actually is part of the proposals under the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Medical and Dentist Practitioners Board, that if there is one that does not play ball within a particular period of time, then the licenses can as well be revoked. So they can go and trade elsewhere and let Kenyans work with those who are ready to work with us under the auspices of our laws. Brenda.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Jared Okelo, Member of Parliament of Nyando constituency, just talking to us about his proposed amendments to the Health Bill 2018. And